There was a massive overhaul in the offseason. Where does that leave the offense, and what is their identity going to be in 2024? We answer it.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. In today's episode, we analyze what Vandy's offensive identity will be under Tim Beck and crew after these massive overhauls. That is. So RJ Austin and Bryce Cunningham are amongst those that are excelling for the Vandyboys. The team needs to rally around these two in Athens and get this thing turned around. Also, with Ven Allen Lubin declaring for the portal, where does that leave Mark Byington? How does he fill this roster? Here we go. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Game off. We got to talk more about Monopoly Go. This fast-paced game lets you team up with friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. So download Monopoly Go now, free on the Google Play or App Store. Game on. So after completing a pretty impressive overhaul of the program, Clark Lee, the first phase of creating identity within this team was when he took over the defense, right? And part of that identity unfolded as he started adding staff members, guys from the portal. Most of his first moves were defensive guys, and part of that was by design, and part of that was the fact that he was still looking for his offensive coordinator. Well, he finds his offensive coordinator, Tim Beck. He finds Jerry Kill, and they go on and pretty much adopt the New Mexico State program. So what does it mean exactly? What does it mean for Vandy's offensive identity? That means that that means they're finally going to have an identity, which is great, because there was times last year, a lot of times, where you weren't real sure what they were trying to do. The first time I talked to Kurt Page, we discussed this. Like it's trying to figure out a puzzle piece and trying to solve a puzzle when half the pieces get knocked out of the box and are scattered amongst the cabinet. So what is going to be their offensive identity? Well, to answer that, you kind of have to know the personnel. So let's work backwards. Okay. Let's work from the solution backwards. So their offensive identity is going to be run first, featuring the quarterback run. So it's going to be a +1 run first scheme that features downfield vertical passing with some RPOs mixed in, as the quarterbacks can handle that. So what does that mean exactly? So the way they recruited, starting with the quarterback position, Diego Pavia, Nate Johnson, Blaze Berlowitz. Those are the three portal guys. And when they came in, they had unique running styles, running ability. They had, unique skill sets in the passing game, which leads me to believe that this identity could stretch as far as, getting two quarterbacks involved. And judging by the skill sets that they went after, it could very well point to that, and it could very well be successful. And I think it will be. I think it's part of the reason why. So this offensive identity, run first, featuring the quarterback, will be the reason why 6-6 is a possibility, right? Why 6-6 is still on for me. Why I'm sticking by that prediction, because I'm not afraid to pivot. I'm not afraid to admit, okay, we got some new information here. Maybe I should back it down to 4-8. Maybe I should back it down to 5-7, or maybe I should up it to 7-5. Maybe I should go worst case at 3-9. With new information, that prediction kind of fluctuates, but I'm sticking with 6-6, and this is, and part of this a lot of this is the offensive identity is going to kind of help that. All right. So in understanding what the identity is and why it's going to be successful, you have to understand how they're going to address the concerns. Well, your chief concern is the offensive line. There's no depth. I mean, on paper, the talent's not there, but these guys play hard, and there's some talented guys. Just got to be able to get something out of them. Now, one of the reasons why people don't think they're talented is because they were blocking 9-man boxes. It was 9-on-5 a lot of times because you gave it away. You knew, just anybody in the stands knew what was coming, when it was coming, based on formations, based on tendencies, based on whatever. If you watched enough Vanderbilt football, and enough Vanderbilt football might have been 3 series, you could understand and almost kind of predict what they were going to do, how they were going to do it, and where they were going to run. So with this new offensive scheme, I think with some option-based schemes built in there, some RPOs, some play action stuff, and the use of the quarterback and quarterback design runs, to me, the reason you do this is to protect your offensive line. When your offensive line has a certain skill set and a certain level of depth, which for Vandy is kind of backwards. Like depth is not really a thing. So you have to protect them with scheme. You have to put these guys in really good situations. And I think the identity is going to be physical, run oriented type of scheme, but it's also going to be dynamic because you're going to have some option stuff. You're going to have some design runs, and you're going to have some electricity in there with some of your more explosive guys. And by doing that, it keeps the offensive linemen engaged. It keeps them in favorable situations to where, by formation or by scheme, like they could be blocking at worst 6-man boxes. And not really, because one of those guys a lot of times is going to be read by a quarterback, either on the first line, the first level, or the second level via pass. So to me, it seems like it's going to be one of those things where you kind of have to, the more specific stuff that's going to be available is going to be based on how they develop within the scheme. I guess how they, what ends up becoming their strengths within the scheme is going to be kind of what's featured first as they're developing in the other aspects. So having an identity is important because when you're play calling, it makes it easier, right? It makes it easier for guys to know. So you get yourself in situations to where, formationally, you're going to make the defense reveal what they're doing. That's always a good thing. You get into tendencies and you get into tendencies and then figure out what those tendencies are and then break those tendencies. That also helps. Having dynamic guys that can destroy you with electric big chunk plays, that will keep defenses honest, and that will keep defenses from really kind of getting a beat on you, because the first time they get burnt for a touchdown on a run blitz when you pull the ball and throw a slant behind where the blitzer's coming from and score a touchdown on it, that defense coordinator is probably not going back to that because he's getting his butt chewed up and down the sideline by the head coach because he decided he wanted to blitz in a run situation. But you have an offensive coordinator that actually can kind of understand the flow of the game and call the right play at the right time. And so timing is also good. Getting a feel of what your offensive line can do well is good. So if you have an offensive line that specializes more in gap schemes and you're running outside zone a lot, well, you're probably not utilizing them the best of their ability. So it's a physical, run-oriented, smart, opportunistic scheme. And so you have to take it. You have to take advantage of defense's mistakes. You have to take advantage of field position. You have to be hyper aggressive and hyper physical, because that's got to be your brand of football, because it's got to match what defense is going to do. And it's important because this can bring you confidence as well. Having an identity will give you always that thing. You can go back to the huddle and you can always say, well, this is what we do. We know what we do. We're going to do what we do. When you're game planning, we're going to do what we do. And there's not a daggum thing you can do to stop it. And so that gives guys confidence, because when you hit your bread and butter plays, you can always go to those in bad situations, and you can always that's your kind of reset too. So if you don't have an identity and you're constantly searching for that play sheet goes blank. It's like you're staring at a blank piece of paper because you don't really know what to call. But when you have confidence going, on the flip side, that call sheet grows and there's more plays that get put on it. There's more things that open up. So you get to be a little bit more creative. You get to be a little bit more aggressive if you have an identity to fall back onto, because teams prepare for that kind of thing. Teams will, try to neutralize what you do and force you into what you can't do well. So you use your identity to gain confidence, and you use your identity to get you through while you're developing the things that you're weak at, because teams are going to start attacking that. So it's going to be very, very interesting to kind of see all of it unfold. It's going to be interesting to see if, how Nate Johnson factors in, and I'll discuss more about the 2-quarterback system next week probably. But most importantly, you have to have an identity, and Vandy has lacked that the last couple of seasons on offense. They've lacked a true identity. It just seemed like a system that didn't really make sense, or there was a system that I think if we could have made sense about it, if we could have just bought into the identity that we were trying to get to, I think there could have been a little bit more success. But you didn't really. It just seemed like didn't really know the personnel, didn't really know what you wanted to be good at, and didn't really know situationally what you. It just didn't. It was head scratching at times of like lack of awareness of, hey, I got 3 great receivers out here. Let me take advantage of them. When you have an identity, these guys know, and these guys understand now. It becomes clearer what puzzle piece they are and where they fit within that big puzzle. It could be down here on the peripheral, it could be right front and center. It's just wherever that puzzle piece lands is kind of where you're going to be featured in this offense. So this is going to be fun. They finally have an identity, and I think this is going to be a rather successful season. So stay tuned for that. But baseball, they could desperately use their groove. RJ Austin and Bryce Cunningham are a couple players they can lean on this weekend to help get them through that, because Georgia's going to be a tough test. So we'll talk about that next. eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, welcome back. Are you watching ESPN or Fox Sports? Are you tired of all that screaming? Do you have to turn your TV down because of it? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV Channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, looking at the Vandyboys, all right, extra innings, walk-off, hit by pitch. You drop 2 out of 3 to Mississippi State. You do the same actually getting swept the previous. Well, no, you do the same against Florida, and then getting swept the previous weekend by Texas A&M. So one of the things that needs to happen, and we've talked about it, but you need to add power. You need to find a way to generate some power, and that's not necessarily taking balls out of the yard. That's just driving the ball into gaps and getting guys on and around quickly. So two guys I think you can lean on, which was pitcher of the week last week, Bryce Cunningham, and RJ Austin. And both of these players play pivotal roles and have played pivotal roles in Vandyboys' most recent wins. They've played pivotal roles in kind of keeping things at a level that, Vandy's not getting too far off the rails. So RJ Austin has been doing, we'll start with him. He's been doing a lot of different things. He's been really, really good for this team because he's versatile and he can hit for power. He can hit to get on base. He has really good plate discipline. He has a really good approach to his at bats. And he's somebody that I think if you want to build your team and build your lineup, you got to start there and you've got to find the perfect spot for him in the lineup. And then I think you've got to kind of build out around there. I think you need, for an optimal lineup, and Tim Corbin, if you're listening to this, I'm the expert. No, I say that sarcastically. But, the way I see it, right, wrong, or indifferent, but the way I see it with this lineup, I think you got to feature RJ Austin. I think you got to pair him with another power hitter because I think you need two power guys right there back to back. Offset those guys with speed and then kind of build a speed power type lineup. And so when you do that, I think it gives you chances in the lineup for pitchers to not get comfortable who they're throwing to because you're like, okay, I'm throwing RJ Austin and then Braden Holcomb's on deck, so I can't really pitch around RJ Austin. And then you get a guy after Braden Holcomb who is fast, who will get on base and push those guys around. All right, and I think if you bat Austin at around third or fourth, he'll have a chance to knock in your leadoff guys, which your leadoff guys needs to be fast and guys that can get on base and wreak havoc. Because Vandy, once they score early, they typically do well, and it happens to be an early thing and not a hey, who scores the most runs wins the game. But like when Vandy scores early, the confidence level goes up. They score often a lot, and they don't relinquish those leads a ton either. And so if they can strike first, I think that's the way you got to do it. I think you've got to get Vastine on base right now, and he's somebody that can hit and get on base. Maybe he leads the game off, Maybe he goes back to that because he has been that swing guy that at 9 to where in those magical innings when you get 9-1-2, you can get yourself like 3 speed guys, and one of those speed guys can be kind of a more powerful base hitter or whatever. But if you can just go ahead and start the game with Vastine, he's good at getting on base. He's good at hitting for power and average. You can get him on base and run him around. So it's one of those things where you just kind of have to manipulate the lineup and get guys in the right spots. And I think the only way you can really truly know if you have guys in the right spots is to tinker with it. If you tinker with it, you find the right combinations and then you stick with it and let that go. So it's going to be interesting this weekend. This weekend will tell us a lot about where this baseball program is. This weekend will tell us a lot, not only our pitching staff, but our lineup as a whole. This will tell us a lot about how Tim Corbin can adjust to a team that's slumping, which in Vandyboys lore, that's not something that happens too often. So how can they break the slump? How can they generate more power? And how can they start getting guys out on the mound as well? That's got to be the lead topic of discussion. Now, speaking of getting guys out, Bryce Cunningham also fits in that category. He was pitcher of the week last week, and he has been a bright spot. He was named that was the second time. He threw a 2-hit complete game shutout on Friday. The lone bright spot for the pitching staff this weekend. He totaled He threw 122 pitches, had 4 strikeouts, but really it's just getting guys out and getting guys to not barrel the ball, to hit, jam, hit off the end of the bat, whatever the case may be. He was getting guys out. And so it's been fun to watch him pitch, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Also, Carter Holton, somebody they can rally around. He already has 200 career strikeouts, and he's a strikeout machine. And he has 5 quality starts in his last 7 appearances. He's 10 more strikeouts and 4 starts and 8 or more strikeouts in 7 starts this year. So these 2 guys leading the rotation, I think Carter Holton has to have a brilliant day on Saturday, because it's going to go Cunningham, Holton, and then they're going to decide Sunday who to throw. So it's going to be those 2 guys on the pitching staff, RJ Austin, and I'll throw in Alan Espinal too, because he's been brilliant behind the plate as well. He's been just crushing the ball. He had a freaking moonshot the other night, and that's just something that this team needs. This team needs a confidence boost big time, and they need to get their mojo back, and they will. But it just needs to happen before regional play. So, basketball was cruising. They had a really nice run in the portal. Ven Allen Lubin leaves. What's next? We'll talk about it next. All right, Monopoly Go. Game off. We got to pause. Talk more about Monopoly Go. As you know what you're saying, flag on the play. You've already talked about that. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. And there's so much to get. You get unique stickers. You can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. You get cool new playing pieces to travel boards with. You get hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. So it's very, very good. Make sure you download it on Monopoly Go. And it's the number one. It's the number one game in all the land, because it's exciting, and every day you're constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their unique mini games like digging for treasure or robot pachinko machine. There's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win, plus or rent frenzies. So there's always something fun to discover on Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. All right. Wrapping things up here, last and final segment. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. Make sure you check out Locked On SEC. After this, make them your second listen each and every day. Chris Gordy does a tremendous job with his show talking about SEC. So you're going to love it. You won't regret it. So thank you for making us your first listen, and thank you for following us on social media. Make sure you tell your friends. Make sure you tell everyone what to expect. This is an amazing platform, and we thank you, everydayers, for making all of this possible all of the time. So Ven Allen Lubin hits the portal, okay? And that was a little bit surprising, because at this juncture, you kind of figured he was waning a little bit, but you didn't know exactly if he would actually follow through with it. I thought he was good. I thought he was in, but he's not, and he's in the portal. So he hadn't signed anywhere yet. He hadn't committed anywhere yet. I don't know who's on him. I'm sure there's a lot of people that like him. He has a lot of ability, a lot of potential, but his best chance might be coming back to Vandy. But the real question is, though, what does Mark Byington do? Okay. What does he do? He has spots to fill, for sure. He has spots to fill, but he needs to figure out what he wants. And one of those things that I've heard is there's a guy There is a guy. Yes. Yes, there is a guy from Sanford that I think is in the portal, and he is a big forward, and he is somebody that I think would add immediate impact for this. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see where all of this is going. Mark Byington has what he has up his sleeve, but when you look at everything and all the moves, there's things that he should go after. Now, what he's going to do to fill these spots, he's going to go after. He's got about three-ish spots to fill, which is perfect. But he needs to fill those spots, and so you can. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. You can get your best available regardless of position and just kind of adjust to it. That was going to be kind of the motto with Ven Allen Lubin in the park, in the mix. But since he's in the transfer portal, you got to kind of change that a little bit. So what that means is this: you have to get creative on who you go after. And you're still going to go after JRT, and you're still going to go after the guys that are in the portal still. Ven Allen Lubin is going there. He's going to go after Ven Allen Lubin as well. So you have to, you have to just kind of take it with a grain of salt. Find the three best players. One of those guys needs to be a big guy, 6'10". Aker from Sanford is a guy that I would be excited about the way he plays. And this guy would be an incredible piece to what Mark Byington's trying to do at Memorial and bringing Memorial magic back to Memorial Gym. So getting guards would help his style of play. I think it would help. I think it would help solidify the identity. And I think Mark Byington is trying to establish an identity by what he recruits in the portal. Meaning this: if he recruits a bunch of guards, you're probably going to see it be a more fast-paced scheme. You're probably going to see a lot of running. You're probably going to see kind of a 40 minutes of hell type situation. If it's a couple of big guys and a guard, it won't be quite as torrent of a pace, but it'll be one of those where it's definitely not slow either. You're going to have some athletic big guys to kind of get things going, because you do need to have that air of physicality. And early on, I think he's got some physical culture guys to join the fray. But now he's got some veterans, he's got some shooters, and he's got a little bit of pizzazz there. But it goes back to the same philosophy that football had: the puzzle pieces, right? You have this puzzle, and you got to fill it out week to week for the whole season, the 24-25 season. How does your pieces fit? And so far, he's got a shooter, he's got some long forwards, he's got a winger, he's got a slasher, he's got a distributor, he's got guys that can run the floor, he's got guys that can disrupt, he's got guys that can shoot, sharpshoot, things like that. He's got pieces in place. Now it's just all in tying it in. He needs another board guy. He's got McLaughlin and Jalen Carey as guys that can hit the low post and be on the boards. He's got options. So he's got a few more spots to fill too. And he's going to take, I think with one of those, he's going to just take whoever the very best player is in the portal. He's going after him, and he's going to take him with that. And so this, regardless of it, this thing is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited for it. You should be too. And that's that. So, stay tuned for all the portal talk there. So, but anyway, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Be sure to check us out each and every day, each and every weekday. And for all the great content that Vandy has to offer, we thank you for listening, and we will certainly see you back here next week, better than ever, hopefully with some portal additions, but We'll talk a lot of football, talk a lot of baseball, and talk some basketball as well. We cover it all. But this is the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you back here next week. But as always, anchor down. Peace.